Welcome to Cloud on Air, live webinars from Google Cloud. We host these webinars every Tuesday. My name is Jeremy Sussman. I'm a product manager on Google Docs. And today, I'll be talking to you about tips and tricks to boost productivity on Google Docs. You can ask questions anytime on the platform. We have Googlers standing by to answer them. This talk is a quick overview of Google Docs. If you want to learn more, please visit the G Suite Learning Center. We'll give you a link at the end of the talk. Okay, let's get started. Sorry. Having technical troubles. Okay. Sorry about that. One of the most common things you do at work is to write documents. You might write a proposal, a technical specification document, a legal contract, or even use a document to capture meeting notes. In this talk, we're going to walk through the typical life cycle of a document. It often goes something like this. You kick off the document by copying an existing document and removing the information. You then add in other information that you have on hand. You then share the document with your teammates and stakeholders, some of whom may be external to your company, to build up the content. Once you've gotten all the information you need in the document, you go through it all again and add that extra level of polish. And finally, you send your document out to its intended audience. In this presentation, I'm going to highlight how Google Docs saves you time during each of these 4 steps. Okay, let's talk about starting a new document. As I said, often when starting a new document, people will make a copy of an existing document, remove all the old content, and then start adding new content. Although this is a very common practice, it is not the most efficient. A better way to do this is by using templates. A template is basically a common outline of a document. It removes the time spent copying and cleaning up old files in the workplace, giving you more time for the important creative work. With the custom template feature, you can create a template from any file and then submit it to the template gallery for your coworkers to adapt and use as needed. G Suite for business and education customers can restrict who can submit new templates or require templates to be approved by an administrator before they appear in the gallery. Finding templates across a big organization can be time-consuming and often impossible. With the template gallery in Google Docs, organizations can distribute their up-to-date templates and group them by team. A template that is custom to your team allows you to focus less on formatting and more on driving impact and achieving success. We talked about starting off from a template and customizing it to produce your end result. But what if you need to produce 10 very similar documents? In certain job functions like sales, there's a common workflow where you send similar documents to many customers. This is a time-consuming process. For each customer, you make a copy of the template and then edit the name of the customer and the data about the customer. You have to do that one customer at a time. But with Google Docs, it will soon be possible to automate this process using our Application Programming Interface, or API. These APIs are built for reading and writing presentations, spreadsheets, and documents from your application. The REST API for Docs is currently in developer preview. REST APIs work really well if you have an on-premise or legacy data store you need to work with. It's a nice way to integrate with a cloud-based product like G Suite, even if you aren't fully on the cloud just yet. We built this API because of a wide-ranging need to support several core use cases, specifically bulk document creation, content management, and workflow management. For example, you could create a program that runs on your existing infrastructure, reads from an on-premise system, and pushes data out into a Docs template. This could automate the sales scenario I just mentioned, for example. Or you could add an Export to Docs button on an internal site. This could push the data on the page to a document where you can get the benefit of our collaborative editing capabilities. Now you have Docs editors right where you need them, no matter what tool you're using. As I mentioned, the REST API for Docs is currently in developer preview. You can sign up for early access at developers.google.com/docs. So, templates give you a head start with the formatting and the layout, but is there a way to get a head start on the content in your document? Often, you have a lot of existing work, information in other docs, slides, or spreadsheets that form the basis of your new document. we want to help you easily find that information. Docs Explorer uses artificial intelligence to suggest relevant files for you. It does this based on your previous drive activity and information in your documents. This allows you to find the most up-to-date information and create new material quickly. You can also search manually for files, emails, or even the web for more content. Just click the Explore icon at the bottom right of your screen to benefit from this great feature. Often, the information in a document, especially charts and tables, comes from a spreadsheet. If the information in the original chart or table changes, it can be difficult to remember to update copies of those charts or tables in other documents, and it can be tedious and time-consuming when you do. To save you valuable time, you could choose to link charts and tables that come from spreadsheets. If you do that, we will remind you that the data has changed, and we make it possible to update your chart with a single click, without ever needing to leave your document or presentation. This way, you maintain a single source of truth and update content in new documents with a click of a button. This can be great to keep the data in important documents evergreen. Similarly, it is often useful to embed a slide in a document. Like charts or tables, slides can be linked, ensuring that they too remain up to date. There's another document starting aid that's coming soon to Google Docs. The G Suite Quick Access Side Panel that appears in Gmail today will soon be available in Google Docs. So, how is this useful for starting a doc? Well, for example, if you know there's a document you'll need to write, you could outline it in Google Keep using lightweight notes while you're on the go. Then, when you sit down to write the actual document, you can use the G Suite Side Panel to get started by just dragging and dropping your notes from Keep into the document. With the G Suite Side Panel, you can use the full power of the G Suite tools without having to navigate a lot of open windows. Finally, we've built an even cooler way to get a head start on a specific type of document, meeting notes. Research has demonstrated that agendas are widely beneficial for creating efficient, high-quality meetings. Tracking agendas and capturing action items make meetings more productive and effective. Here's a sneak peek at a new feature of Google Docs, Quick Meeting Notes. Quick Meeting Notes integrate with Google Calendar to help attendees quickly set up meeting note documents. It makes tracking agendas, notes, and action items easy, with a simple template to keep meetings more productive. We'll talk more about action items in a few minutes. Okay, so in step one, you save time by starting from a template and quickly adding information from other sources like charts, tables, and slides. Now that you have a good starting point, you're ready to bring your teammates in to collaborate on the document. This is where Google Docs really shines. Let's see how this is done. With all Google documents being in the cloud, you don't send your collaborators a copy. At no point do you need to label a document as version 1, send it out to others, and then wait for the next version to be emailed back to you, while you sit there unproductively wondering what your colleagues are doing. What you see on this screen is how collaboration works in Google Docs. Multiple people are making multiple changes, all in real time. Even if your colleagues work in different time zones and in different parts of the world, you all work on the same document. Never again will you have to deal with this version roulette, because everyone is working on the exact same file. People nowadays often work on the go while commuting to the office or traveling on a business trip. The real-time collaboration features are all available on our apps, on iOS and on Android. Sometimes it can take dozens of edits to make a document just right, especially a legal agreement, project proposal, or research paper. To reduce the messiness of it all, collaborators can suggest changes. This feature stores their changes for review instead of changing the content directly. You can then look through the suggestions and approve or reject each one as you see fit. And as with collaboration, suggested changes are part of our mobile apps. With Google Docs, you can also name versions of a document, preview clean versions, and bulk accept or reject all changes. Named versions of a document allow you to assign custom names to specific versions of your document. This is a great way to keep a historical record of your team's progress. It's also helpful for communicating when a document is actually final. Previewing clean versions of a document allows you to see what your doc would look like without the comments or suggested edits. Finally, bulk acceptance or rejection of all edit suggestions means you or your teammates don't have to review every single punctuation mark or formatting update. With one click, you can bring the document to the version that you want. The collective power of a team can help to get things done quickly, but effective teams generate lots of to-dos and action items, which can be hard to track. Google Docs makes collaboration easier with comments and action items, and can even suggest action items automatically. Comments in Google Docs allow your team members to leave suggestions or notes on what to edit or add. Other editors working on the document can see and respond to comments. This is the magic of Google Docs collaboration come to life. Action items in Google Docs allow you to assign tasks to others. You can assign an action item manually to someone by mentioning their name in a comment and checking the action item box. The assignee will get an email notification to see the action item, and they will see them clearly highlighted with a blue bar when they open the file. And with suggested action items, Google Docs identifies potential to-dos and smartly suggests turning them into actual assigned to-dos for easy tracking. So on desktop, for example, if you type phrases like when to follow up on the keynote script or Lee to schedule a weekly check-in, Docs will intelligently suggest an action item to assign to the right person, thanks to natural language processing. Sometimes when you are collaborating with an external agency, they don't use Google Docs. Whether you're negotiating a contract with a client or coordinating a sales agreement with a supplier, chances are you might have to deal with multiple file formats. In Google Drive, you can comment on those files the way you're used to in Google Docs. No need to open up other tools to get the collaborative benefit of Google Docs. In the Drive preview pane, comment, assign tasks, or mention coworkers on any file, and the people you work with can reply back. This is true even if they're not using G Suite. Let's say your coworker opens a file on her Windows laptop using Microsoft Word. She'll see your comment in the file and can reply right from there. The ability to comment in Drive preview mode is just one example of the interoperability between G Suite and Microsoft Office products. For some documents, in addition to collaborators, you might also have stakeholders or approvers. You may need to get your proposal or contract approved by stakeholders in various functions, like legal or PR. Without G Suite, you'd probably download the document as PDF and then use a product tracking tool to collect formal approvals and sign-offs. Okay, sure, that works. But if any of the approvers asks for a change in the contract or presentation, you need to make that change, produce a new PDF, somehow differentiate that version from the first one, and then resend it for approval. And as I said earlier, version roulette is a hassle. With G Suite, this approval workflow is a whole lot more streamlined. We recently announced Drive's upcoming document-centric workflows feature, which will allow users to get formal approvals on their files. With this feature, you submit a file for approval from specific coworkers, and upon doing so, the file gets locked and shared and the approvers get notified. After the document is approved, the file stays locked, and anybody looking at the file will be able to tell that the file has been approved. This lightweight workflow tool can powerfully streamline company processes and will soon be available in an early adopters program. For this type of approval or sign-off process, when you have many stakeholders, it's helpful to be able to track their progress. Google Docs offers the ability to audit collaborator activity. The activity dashboard allows you to see which collaborators have viewed your document and when. You can understand which of your teammates have seen your latest revision and who needs to be notified that they need to stay in the loop. Google Docs gives you the power to track the progress on a project with lots of moving parts. Okay, we've talked about starting your document and collecting information with others, and we've talked about collaborating around that document. What does Google do to help you save time with the fine-grained copy and polish? One feature in Google Docs that helps you get to that level of polish is our default text styles feature. Google Docs allows you to set up custom title and heading styles. With custom styles, you get formatting that matches your company's brand or your own personal style. This makes it easy for you to keep that level of polish you want without expending a lot of extra energy. Fonts matter for polish too. There are some that are good for documents that are read on a personal screen, while others are good for the big screen. You can choose from hundreds of fonts provided by Google Slides. We recently expanded the font catalog to support 62 languages, including non-Latin scripts like Cyrillic and Devanagari. Once you find fonts you like, you can add them to your My Fonts list. Once they're in this list, they will be available for quick access in the font drop-down menu on all of your Docs files. We found in our user research, there are 3 top cases where people worry the most about the quality of their writing. In high-stakes internal communications, when you're drafting communications that will drive key business decisions. In external collaboration, when you're drafting a document or a proposal with the intention of sharing this outside of your company. And when you're collaborating as a non-native speaker, when you're not the native speaker of the official language of your company or industry. In all these cases, it's critical to ensure that your writing is correct. We are introducing grammar suggestions in Google Docs, along with a revamped interface for your spelling and grammar review. These new features build on the existing spell check functionality to also highlight possible grammar errors in your text and help you correct them. This will help you spend less time checking and proofreading your work and make your writing easier to understand. Google Docs uses machine learning technology to recognize and help correct potential grammar errors in real time. When Docs detects a possible grammar correction, it will underline it in blue to indicate you might want to check it. You can then right-click to see a suggested correction or dismiss the alert. Possible grammar errors will also show up when you run a spelling and grammar check through the Tools menu. These features will initially launch as an early adopter program. Another place to find polishing help is in the add-ons store. Here you can find rich integrations to help you build more powerful documents. For example, you can add diagrams you created in programs outside of G Suite, like in Lucidchart. Or you can more easily generate bibliographies and citations using the EasyBib add-on. Explore the add-on store for a variety of helpful tools. Okay, so we've created the document, we've worked with our collaborators, we've gotten the approvals needed, everything's polished and buttoned up, and now we're ready to send out our work. How does Google Docs help you in this phase of creating a document? When it comes to documents in the enterprise world, security matters. When there's extra sensitive information in a document, you want to be conservative about what the recipients can do with the file. For example, you may give some stakeholders view-only access. This prevents them from changing their own access level and allowing other new people to be able to access the file. You can also prevent downloading or making a copy of the document. This type of protection is not possible in a world where you attach files in an email for the others to download and forward at their will. To keep your organization's information extra safe in these situations, you can also set an expiration date for specific user access to files in Google Docs. For instance, imagine your business hires an outside contractor for a project lasting 3 months. To complete that job, the contractor needs to view a document containing confidential information about your company. You share the document containing this information with the contractor. Give them view access only, and set that access to expire when their contract does, in 3 months. Now, if the contractor attempts to open the document after the expiration date has passed, they'll be denied access. Google Docs strives to give you full control over how your files are shared. And this is all done with a few clicks and a self-explanatory user interface. With Google Docs, all the phases of creating a document Google Docs also gives you a choice on how you want to share your document. While the easiest and most common way is to share the file natively, with the right access controls, as I just mentioned, you might want to share it in a different format. You can see here the various formats into which you can export your final product without losing any formatting. With Google Docs, all the phases of creating a document, getting started, collaborating, polishing, and sharing, are easier and more efficient. In this talk, we've taken you through a bunch of great Google Docs features: custom templates in the template gallery, developer APIs to generate documents, explore and suggested data, linked charts, tables, and slides that remain up to date, the quick access side panel, quick meeting notes, collaboration with comments and action items, manual or automatically suggested changes and the ability to bulk accept or reject them, named versions and clean previews, approvals and sign-offs in Google Docs or on other formats via Google Drive, an activity dashboard to monitor approval workflows, default text formatting and more fonts, spelling and grammar improvements, add-ons, and many security features, including limited access rights, exploration, and exporting. That's a lot of information to take in. If you want to learn more about Google Docs or review some of the things we've discussed here, learn more today by visiting the G Suite Learning Center at the link shown on your screen. Okay, stay tuned for live Q&A. We'll be back in less than a minute. Hi, welcome back. We've gotten a number of questions from the audience, and now we will answer them. So the first question says, that doesn't keep people from making copies of a document though, right? This refers to the security feature where we disable copying. What that does is disables the file copy entry in the menu, and therefore people cannot make copies through that mechanism. Second question, can I share a document I make in Google Docs with someone without a G Suite account? Absolutely. When you send out a document by link, people who click on that link will be able to see your document. A G Suite account is not necessary. Third question, when I share the document, can the other person know all of the previous versions and comments? This depends on how you share the document. If you share it in view-only mode, the person will not see comments or previous versions. If you share it in edit mode, then they will be able to see those things. Next, how do I limit access to a document so only people at my company see it? By default, when you create a document, you choose who can see it. So if you choose to let people outside of the company see it, then you're giving them explicit permission. But documents by default are only limited to the people you have expressly given access to. Finally, can I link to a specific part of a document? Absolutely. One of the features in Google is the bookmark, and you can insert a bookmark at any point in a document, and then you can link directly to that point in the document itself. I believe that's all the questions we have. So that's all for today. Please tune in next Tuesday for the next Google Cloud OnAir webinar. And thank you for watching.